Apostrophes have two main purposes. They can be used to show possession or contraction. The SAT tests both of these rules, but very rarely in the same question. Since contraction is almost always tested alongside pronoun agreement, we'll cover that rule in a separate lesson. For now, let's focus on how apostrophes show possession. These two sentences show the difference between a regular plural noun and a possessive noun that needs an apostrophe. In the first sentence, the dogs are large, the dogs are just dogs. They don't possess anything. Nothing belongs to them, so we don't need an apostrophe. They are just large dogs. In the second sentence, the dog's owners are large, the dogs are acting more like an adjective that describes the actual topic. The dogs aren't large, the owners are. The apostrophe shows that this sentence involves possession, and bizarrely, it's actually the dogs that possess the owners. Even though that might not make sense logically, grammatically, the apostrophe shows that the owners belong to the dogs. In other words, the dogs own their owners. The most common way that the SAT tests apostrophes is by using them when they're not necessary. If we're not showing ownership, belonging, or possession, then we don't need an apostrophe. Putting an apostrophe in the first sentence would be wrong. There are also ways of showing possession that don't need an apostrophe. For example, we could rewrite the second sentence so that it says, the owners of the dogs are large. We're still showing a possession relationship, but the of takes care of that possession without the need for an apostrophe. But be careful, the SAT might tempt you with wrong answer choices that include both the of and an unnecessary apostrophe. The owners of the dogs are large. Notice that this sounds exactly the same as the correct answer. Apostrophes are tricky on the SAT because we can't easily listen for the correct answer. Apostrophes don't make a sound, so we need to memorize the rules. This gets even more confusing when we have to decide where to place an apostrophe. If a word does not end in the letter S, then we need to add an S after the apostrophe. If a word does already end in S, then we just add the apostrophe after it. Either way, the word will be pronounced the same, so we need to actively think about this rule instead of just how the word sounds. Let's listen to these four sentences that involve multiple possessives. The dog's owner's house is large. 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 The first sentence involves one dog and one owner because the apostrophe comes before the S on both words, which means that the words are singular, dog and owner. But the second sentence tells us that multiple dogs belong to a single owner. Notice that the apostrophe comes after the S in dogs, but before the S in owner. Dogs was a plural word that we made possessive by adding the apostrophe, while owner was a singular word that we made possessive by adding the apostrophe and the S. Using the same rule on sentence 3, we can see that there is a single dog that belongs to multiple owners. And in sentence 4, multiple owners possess multiple dogs. In all four sentences, the main subject is actually the house, and the dogs and owners are really just helping us describe the house more accurately. The SAT occasionally tests the placement of apostrophes on singular and plural nouns like this, but it's not very common. You're much more likely to be asked whether apostrophes are required at all. To help you with SAT apostrophe questions, follow these steps. First, focus on one of the words that might need an apostrophe and decide whether it possesses the noun after it. Your decision should eliminate at least one answer. In this case, the particle possesses charges, so an apostrophe is needed, eliminating choices B and D. Next, look at the other word and decide whether it needs an apostrophe. Your decision might get you to the one right answer. In this example, the charges don't possess anything. They do the action. The charges vary over time, so no apostrophe is needed. That leaves us with only choice C, making it the right answer. At first glance, these answer choices made us think that we would need to follow step 3 and think about the placement of apostrophes and whether particle and charge were singular or plural. In fact, the placement was a distraction. We were able to get the correct answer by only thinking about whether each word needed an apostrophe at all, not whether the apostrophe was before or after the S. This type of apostrophe question is very common on the SAT, so saving the singular-plural decision for last will prevent a lot of confusion. If we did have multiple answers left after step 2, then we could think about where the apostrophe needs to be placed for step 3. Something else in the sentence or passage should tell you whether the apostrophe word is singular or plural. But notice that there is no such clue here, so it's literally impossible to know whether particle is singular or plural except by process of elimination. And remember, it's not unusual for the right answer to an apostrophe question to contain no apostrophes at all. The SAT often tries to bully you into using an apostrophe when none are required. But if you memorize the rules, the correct answer should be obvious.